today's session is all about documentation, how we do documentation. So Harish just answered that they use Swagger for documenting. Anybody uses any other mechanisms? So JavaDoc is one way. That is one. Is there any other way of documenting your code, or these two only the documentation? Okay. Any session that we take it to the take it as deep as possible, because when you go to interview, they will expect you to know everything. So probably you need to cover the ground. Once you get into the work, you will not use this, but it's very important to know these concepts from the interview perspective. So I'm just going a bit deep into it. There are two answers from the group. One about the documentations. What are the documentation that we do? One is Java documentation. Another answer is Swagger. Is there any way of documenting your code apart from this? When I'm saying JavaDoc, it includes your NPM JavaScript documentation, all your programming level documentation. One is programming level, then you use Swagger to document your REST APIs. Is there any other way that you can document REST APIs? Not REST APIs, your application.
We are using Confluence and Open 3 is there, Open API 3. Open REST API 3.
Wiki. We will consider that as broadly a category of documenting with Wiki.
Yeah, Wiki, yes. Yeah, Wiki also we used it long back. Now we are not using. We are using Confluence.
Yeah. Confluence, basically, that's all Wiki style actually.
Okay.
Start with, hope everybody can see my screen. Swagger, JavaDoc, then Narayana, it was Confluence. We will take it as Wiki. Is there any other
API CURIO? Yeah.
Okay. So what we discuss now is, sometimes these topics when we discuss, right, people consider documentation is boring. Why do we need to know documentation? There is documentation is not just a documentation that we think about. It's much more than that nowadays. We'll come to that now. So documentation, API Curio. What is this API Curio? Who answered this?
Yes, Praveen, yeah. We used to define that APIs, documentations, endpoint creations. Even it's like a similar as a Swagger, but it's provide more environment.
Okay, interesting.
I've seen some people using Postman also for API doc.
Okay, Postman. Okay. I am just grouping them in a different category. In fact, whoever answered this, they got an interesting area. We'll cover that also. Let us take it from the basic logical perspective. What are we trying to do with our documentation? Okay, there are some engineers and they work in a rapid environment and they claim they do not do documentation. Then you ask, why don't you do documentation? They will say Agile doesn't need documentation. This is the most popular. Agile does not need documentation. How many of you come across this statement in your organizations? Is this statement correct, true, valid?
No, it is not valid. The business requirements, sometimes they will change it. Somewhere they need to, otherwise we'll forget. The developer will forget. Somewhere they need to be.
Okay, very good. This is a big lie. Agile doesn't recommend you not to document it. Okay, whether you work in Agile or Waterfall, consider this case. You are releasing a product. For example, you are making a car and you are giving the car to somebody, and then they ask you how to drive the car, and you simply say Agile doesn't need documentation. I wrote it. I created the car in Agile methodology. Whether whatever methodology that you create, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, your product should be documented, product should be usable by the other people. Even your manuals are documentations. So documentation is not just a developer's thing, right? Even your manuals are documentations. Your demos are documentations. But most important aspect that many people will miss. Is there anything that I missed here for the documentation? Consider I'm a developer and I want to understand your system. And how do I understand my system? What is the basic thing that I will expect in your system?
Logical diagram.
Which one?
Logical diagrams.
Logical diagram. Okay, architecture diagrams.
Yeah.
Architecture. Very good, very good. There is still one that people usually miss out. This is excellent. This is excellent. Who answered this?
Vasu, right.
Yeah. So that's excellent. That's excellent. But there is still something missing. In fact, architecture in these places, which is into picture. I will tell you why this is coming into Wiki now. You can keep your architecture diagram in Word document, PDF, Excel sheet, all that stuff. But nowadays people don't prefer it. They always ask, put it in Confluence. There is a meaning to it. There is one important aspect that people miss. From the developer perspective, the most important documentation any smart developer will be looking at is this. Because this wiki can lie. Okay, there are two things that changed about documentations. Nowadays, we don't deal with dead documentations. What is the dead documentation? For example, you released a product and you made all the efforts to put a lot of documentation just before the release checklist and all those stuff. You release the product. Is the documentation sufficient? You release the PDF file. But later your product keeps on changing, which means your project is live. Your documentation is not live. That is where Confluence kind of things comes into picture. That is what in general I talked about Wiki. Why people prefer Wiki? Because it is live. You know what was there yesterday, you know what is there today, and people collaborate, they discuss, they keep the documentation live. Live is an aspect that people don't usually consider about the latest, the documentations. Second aspect, the test cases. Test cases describe your functionality much more than anybody else, because don't trust people. That's a basic rule of software engineering. If I ask you to explain about a project, you can probably explain about what you know. There are things that probably you don't know. There are things that has happened before you join, but test cases will give you the clear picture, because test cases gets executed every time that you execute your code, which means people can lie. Test cases will not lie. So test cases are very, very important, not just for testing your applications. That's what we can say. But from the documentation perspective, test cases matters a lot. There are various ways of writing test cases. People call BDD, TDD. Let us not get into that buzzwords. But the more the test case, the more your project is readable. That's one. Did we cover everything? Is there anything else that is still missing in this documentation?
Test scenarios.
Test scenarios. Test cases should be complete. So in that case, I will put inside this. You need to put all the scenarios. What do you document about? You are documenting about your software. What does it mean? When you say you are documenting about a software, you are going to document about the code, about the program that you write. Okay. In fact, if you are really, really smart, this is the place where many of the smart companies work much better compared to other counterparts in this area. They treat code as documentation. So to be precise, if you want to get something out of the session, there are only two things that you need to keep in your mind. The documentation that we look has changed over the period of time. There are two aspects that are very much important in today's documentation. One, your documentation should be live. Your code should be your documentation. Live, probably I will add test cases, then code. All together. I'm not going to talk about the tools now, because there are tools that will come and go. It doesn't matter. But ultimately, this is the significant change that has happened over the period of time about your documentations. Your documentations are no longer, I release a product, I release a documentation. No, your project is live. Your document should also be live. It should go to changes. It should be collaboratively modified. And that is the place tools like Wiki, all this comes into picture. And then the second aspect, that is test cases. In test cases, if you look at the latest JUnit 5 and all those stuff, one key aspect that they put, apart from making it more with more features with testing and all those stuff, they make your test cases more and more readable. You can go and check the latest JUnit 5. Once you write test cases in JUnit 5, anybody can read it and then understand what is exactly going on in that specific method. So it's more about readable test cases. And in readable test cases, if you are following BDD, people will talk about Cucumber. One important aspect that I left out, the Jira tickets that you create, is a documentation. Anybody have opinion on this? I'm saying the tickets that we create are documentations. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a backlogs and other things. Yeah.
Yeah. So people usually throw tickets just like that. I'll say, okay, I want to add this. I'm doing this. They are not proper tickets. If you are working in a process-based companies, you can watch out for this specific items. If you go and see your tickets, the tickets, even though they create n number of tickets, hundreds, thousands of tickets, but if you look at the ticket, basically if you have something like this, let me know if anybody has seen this in their Jira. They say, okay, I want to add a feature, add new customer scenario. When new customer gets in, then we check his Aadhaar card. If valid, then we create him. Then another scenario, existing customer, something like this. Have you seen people creating tickets with this in this format?
Yeah.
What is this format? What is this format? Is there any name to this format?
BDD style, Cucumber framework has this.
Is this a programming language? The one that I typed is a programming language.
EML.
It's a business language.
Gherkin.
Cucumber is an engine, but Cucumber is an engine that we use for BDD. But this
Gherkin language.
Gherkin.
Exactly. Okay. Now let us not look into this fancy names of Gherkin, okay, Cucumber, BDD, all that stuff. But let us look at the logic behind this. Why they do this? The most important part of a software is not like developing a software, but rather understanding your problem and then providing a solutions. So in understanding, there's a problem. For example, with my communication skills, I might say, okay, if you ask me to explain about my requirement, I will give you pages of requirements. You will give pages of your requirement. But say, for example, you are a software engineer getting into a healthcare domain which you don't even know, and you need to understand that domain. The language that you use may not be applicable to others. So in a software group, you will be working in a team, and if you use multiple languages, people might miss certain information, misinterpret certain information. So we need a common language. When I say common language, even though English is a common language, I still remember when we ask questions. I'll just give you two examples. Okay, explain me about your requirement. This is how I can ask a requirement. Or let me put the same thing in this way. In your application, do you new customer or not? Do we have payment gateway support or not? Do we support Paytm as a payment gateway? What is the difference between these three questions that I asked and the question that I asked, like, explain me about your project? Can anybody read why we ask these specific questions? Your voice is low.
Yeah, so you were specific with your questions. It was not vague.
Exactly. Okay, now let us just consider this. Okay, now if you ask a person, tell me about yourself, he can give stories, but may not be the story that you are interested in. You need to be more precise. In a technical word, if you make a practice of asking Boolean questions, do you have this or not? Is this required or not? Or fill in the blanks. What are all the payment gateway that we support? So if you formulate it, you can get more precise answers from your customers. That's one. Similarly, if you look at your business requirements, most of the business requirements, now in this case, if you look at this, feature is a keyword, scenario is a keyword, when is a keyword, then is a keyword, if is a keyword. Now if you put this structure into your requirement, most of your requirement will fall under this. I want to introduce a feature. This is this feature. I have these scenarios. When this happens, then this happens. If it is like this, then this is like this. So if you follow this, the thing is, all your requirements are going to share something very, very common. And we are just putting a constraint on people that express in so and so way. Document your requirement in so and so way. That is how everybody's requirement will look similar. If you go and look at any features, if somebody else look into your features, they all look familiar. That is another important aspects of making a documentation. So this is in general about documentations. So what you need to reply when someone says Agile doesn't need documentations, boss, Agile needs documentation, but the means and meaning of documentation in Agile is changed. Now that is what we are going to see. When we say documentation is important, if you trust your developer that your developer is going to understand your documentations, the importance of your documentation, they are going to create pages of your documentations. No, that is not going to happen. So you need to make the life of developer easy and the validity of the documentation easy. That is the complex problem. And that is what the tools like Cucumber and the tool that we are going to just talk about is going to solve. Basically what we are saying is, we ask the developer, all that you do is your code. Put your documentation inside your code. We will learn it from that. That is what we are going to do. Now, our favorite area, even though we know all this, people will ask about what is Spring Boot only in interviews. We'll start with Spring Boot now. I have an application. One person mentioned about Swagger. Prior to Swagger, the way that we are communicating REST API is, my company X will have PDF documenter as an REST API documentation. And every time we API developers write something, we need to go and then update the documentation. Most of the time we'll forget it. And then there will be confusions. We don't know how to. Then front-end guys will be looking at the PDF documentations and all those stuff. What is the challenge that Swagger is trying to solve? Can anybody tell me? They all use Swagger, but what is the exact problem that we are trying to solve with Swagger? What is the problem that we are trying to solve with Swagger?
Documenting API, plus its give mocks, etc.
Okay, okay, okay. Let us look at the documentation, something like, consider this wiki page is your document. This is your document or something like that, okay? Now you are reading this, okay? But in Swagger, the main difference is this guy, try it out. Which means, usually in a documentation, the documentation, if you give it as a PDF, what you're saying is, backend developer is saying, boss, this is what I support. And the front-end guys cannot talk. It's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. It's not interactive, right? But here, if you document in this way, what Swagger enables you first is, you can give your pet ID, or say, for example, you want to get all the pets. Get pet ID. Okay, we'll give try it out. I will say, okay, pet ID 1. I'll send it. Then this is giving me this pet ID. Pet not found. Okay, basically it is interactive. That's one Swagger solved. But the second thing that Swagger solved is, it looks familiar. Whether your applications or other people's applications, the format remains same, which means it looks kind of feeling home. We just talked about that, right? You need to give sense of a familiarity. If that person's ticket looks one way, your ticket also look almost in the same way, so that people can easily relate it. That is the value that Swagger brings in. These two are the basic default values, but there is a third aspect to that. That is what people don't actually check. Swagger is not this that you see. This UI is not Swagger. Where is your actual Swagger specification? It is this guy. So when you say Swagger creates a JSON format. This JSON format describes what are the service that I have, what is the bar input that I expect, what is the output that I expect. All the information about my code, how I need to communicate is there with this. Will this have any benefit for the front-end guy? Apart from reading it, understanding the documentation, is there anything that is benefit that he's going to benefit out of this?
The code can be created from this, the client code.
Perfect. Who answered this?
Gagan.
Gagan. Excellent. Excellent. Code generation. Swagger. There is something called Swagger code gen. Because it's all spec. When it all becomes spec, you have the possibility of a tool. Now, if you go to Swagger code gen, in Swagger code gen, you can create your server stub, test cases, everything within this. There is the Swagger code gen. You can download and then try. I have not downloaded, but just think of this. In Swagger code gen, you can generate your Spring Boot REST API, REST controllers, front-end controllers, everything. Okay, so Swagger is very, very useful now, right? Okay, so understanding all the benefit of Swagger, will our developer create all this? Now, all that you expect is you ask developer, all that I need is this one page of JSON file. Please create it for me. Will the developer be happy and then create it for us? most probably know. He considered that our developer is the laziest person in the world. We want to even simplify this further for him. So how do we simplify? That is the tool that we are going to talk about. So now that is the place where the concept of treating your code as a documentation comes into picture. Now I have this application. I'm going to start the application. Now, all that we ask the developer is, consider you are a Spring Boot developer. And how do you create a REST API in Spring Boot? What is the class that you will write? How do you create a REST controller? Okay. Can a developer escape that without writing a REST controller? Can he write REST API? No, right? No. So that is the bare minimum thing our lazy developer will follow. We will cache in on that aspect. Now, all that he has done is he has created a controller. For example, for question API that he has created a controller. That's all that he did. We did not ask him to do any documentation. Okay, I just started the application. Now I'm just going and then checking my application. Localhost 8090 is my port, and then I'm saying Swagger UI. I get everything for free. So what we asked in the end, that is what I meant by in Agile, the means of documentation is changed, the way that you document. Now all that we beg our developer is, guys, please write your REST API properly. We will take care of the documentation for you. Who help you for that? How they do it? That is what we are going to see. Okay. Now this documentation that you see, it is an auto-generated documentation. Can anybody tell me what is the plugin that you need to add in Spring Boot to generate this Swagger API? Spring Fox, correct? Spring Fox, correct?
Yep.
Okay. There's a small change. In fact, that is what we are going to talk about. Spring Fox is the most popular one that is there for quite some time. But Spring Fox project, we don't know the inner detail, but if you see, it's not as active as it was earlier. Probably there is something that is happening behind the screen that we don't know. But then consider in this case, I'm not using Spring Fox. All that you need to do is, as usual, Spring works with all the starter projects. So we need to have some starter project in my form.xml. That's first. So this is that starter project. Now, this is a dependency that I put. So this is Spring Doc. There's a new project called Spring Doc. I don't know the exact features and all those stuff, but nowadays with the new project they use Spring Doc with reactive WebFlex and all those stuff. I think this guy is able to work with this router configuration. The way that you write REST configuration changed, but this guy is capable of doing that also. That's what I know. But basically, Spring Doc is the project that we used now. Okay, now I have created the document. Okay, do I need to do anything extra? Even if you do nothing, say for example, in this case, I did not do anything here. Get mapping is all that I have done. Okay, and it generates everything out of the box for you. But you can customize this, list all API exams and all those stuff that I leave up to the audience. You can add that. But basically, if the developer, it's just completely free. If you don't do anything by putting this extra POM dependency, it will create it for you, but you can customize it. If I want to customize this, for example, this one that you see, it's a Hello World. It's not Hello World, right? It's my projects API. I want to give my projects API. So how do I do that? You can customize with Swagger config, basic configuration that you do. Compared to Spring Fox, Spring Doc is more annotation driven. It should be relatively easy. My project API changed. So I changed my code, right? I need to stop my code and then start my server so that this configuration is effective. And then I need to refresh my browser also. See, my browser is down now. Why? I did not do. I just changed my code. Okay, it started now. And then my project API. What happened behind the screen? We will see the topic in detail later, but now just consider what happened just now. In a typical Tomcat world, you will stop the server, start the server, you'll be doing a lot of things, but you did not do that now. I'm just clearing it up just to show you what is happening. Let us say my project API modified. I'm making a change to the code. I did not do anything else. I just saved my file. Something that Spring Boot is trying to do here, right? It is shutting down my service. It is restarting my server. And then I go here and then I say I want this Swagger UI. Oh, sorry, Swagger UI.html. My API modified. Who is doing this behind the screen for me?
The DevTools project.
Which one?
DevTools, Spring DevTools.
Yeah, the DevTools is a very, very useful one. You can use it productively. There are people who use DevTools, but they don't get better. They don't get full features out of it. We will cover DevTools as a separate session later on. But for today's thing, just consider that whatever change that I do, it will keep changing it. But let us focus on Swagger now. Okay. Now it has created this documentation for you. Now here, all that we expect is we expect the developers to create proper REST APIs with REST controller, nothing else. And then the documentation will come out of free. Now this one that you can use it for generating your code. For example, you write quite a bit of a Fiend client for service to service communication. This can be auto-generated from this Swagger. And that you can use a Maven plugin. You can generate that. That is the level that you can automate for your documentation. And that's about the documentation session today. Any doubts, any questions?
So is there a plugin which can verify, let's say I already have an open API document and I already have the code. And now I want to verify my code is exactly compliant with the open API that's already created.
Okay, perfect. In fact, that is what I was saying. For example, when you say you write an API, this is the documentation ultimately. Who asked this question?
Yeah, Sanjay here.
Sanjay. So this is the documentation, Sanjay, ultimately. Okay, this is what you see like this UI. Okay, let us
yeah, but now I have to compare this JSON with the open API JSON, right? With,
no, that is
what
we are just about it. You did not hand code it in this case. For example, for your service, right? For example, your service is running in 8090 Swagger UI.html, and this is accessing your API docs from this location. If you look at this API docs, this is your API docs. Sanjay, here this API docs is not what you created. It is created out of your code. You don't need.
Yeah, I understand this, but my question is, we don't work like this. Like we already have a product owner who creates this APIs. There's a team behind it to make sure that every element or every attribute that goes into API is mapped to some data dictionary and all, right? So we already get an API which is created, which has the models and specs, everything. And now I have to write code on top of that. Like, and we don't use CodeGen, like because we have different style and the CodeGen didn't support whatever it was, right? Now I want to verify whatever code I've written is exactly compliant with the API that I've got. All the parameters, all the attribute, all the JSON attribute, everything.
Everything. Okay. There are two things, two answers to your question. Answer number one. Okay. You are following a structure where it's not the developer who owns the API spec. API is specified by somebody else. Agreed. Following strict API related things, your BAs will write APIs. Your USP will write APIs. And developer has to adhere to that. So basically what you are saying is, in your organization, it is not the developer who designed the API. Someone designed the API, developer adhere to the API, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. In that case, the developer has to, for example, now if you don't, the annotation that you see in this plugin, right? These are the annotation that this open API, this OA is nothing but open API specification. This library. Okay, and this open API specification, you write what you write here, right? This is nothing but you are writing your JSON here. Okay. So for example, if you are saying modify 2, that I will come to that later. You need to ask your developer to use these options, not just leave it as it is. And in this way, developer has to manage that the JSON generated out of your work. This work matches your BA provided JSON tag. You can customize
Okay.
each and everything here with this
Mhm.
annotation. You got what I'm saying? Basically, you are coding your JSON through these annotations.
Yeah.
So in your organization, you need to ask your
Yeah.
developer.
So we have to manually verify if both
Yeah.
JSON matches, right?
Yeah. Verification is second thing. First thing that you are expecting your developer is, guys, make sure you are not just throwing a configuration or you are not just writing the, for example, here I had a very lazy developer who just wrote API controller and normal this one. But in case of your application, you need to mention something like API request response. So this API response is coming from this library. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In your case, your developer has to override this and then match statement by statement. This JSON matches with your JSON. One. That's one. Okay. Will that cover
Okay.
you? No. What you need to do is, even though they generate all this, do not expose this to the outside world. For outside world, where ultimately you will have one Swagger endpoint, right? For your organization, the BA generated one.
Mhm.
Okay. So in the BA generated one, you can configure say for example here it is localhost 8090. You see this place, localhost 8090. That is pointing to my API, right? My developer API. You get what I'm saying? Instead, you point this to your staging API or QA API or production APIs. Point that, which means this documentation is coming from your BA and that hits your server. That becomes natural verification, which means outside world they hit through BA provided API. If your implementation doesn't adhere, it is going to fail. You get what I'm saying? Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. One is your developer has to manually code all this to make sure from this side he did his part well, but don't trust him. For your rest, if I understand correctly, if you are following that kind of an organization, probably you will be using this tool, Swagger Editor. There are plugins also. Usually your BS is using this. This is the place where they design their APIs. Here, in this, I will provide my production or my environment here, which means if they are coming and hitting your service with BA provided endpoints, if they are hitting a wrong endpoint, it is going to fail. But for rest of the folks, if your developer is designing it, you don't have this problem.
Satish, we did it, but we did it in different way. Not different way, the different. Like actually, they will provide like a schema kind of thing, JSON schema. Once we generated our JSON, that endpoint output, we are just checking whether the schema is our JSON. Both are same. Our schema is validated to that JSON.
Okay.
Then it is correct. Then we are saying that yeah, the test case is passed.
Okay. It's highly opinionated, but trust me, what you are trying to do, you are talking about JSON schema, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now just look at this definitions of models. Where is the model? Model. See, here is the model. This is nothing but your JSON schema actually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So OpenAPI internally uses JSON schema only. It's like this. Here is the place where, like other technologies also, here also there is a problem. The problem is people don't understand the solutions probably. They have their own process and they don't come out of the process. It's like this, okay? If you are using Swagger, if you decided to use Swagger, better use it in and out. Use it, get better out of it. Okay. In your case, what is happening is you have an external format and get that format and ask your developers to create the format again for you. Correct. That's actually wrong, but the choice is not just always with us. People have different opinions and all those stuff, but that's wrong actually. If you're following Swagger, Swagger has a lot of tools where they cover.
We are not using Swagger.
So
to make sure that just Confluence only we are putting just endpoints.
Okay, yeah, that's again when you are using Confluence, the problem is it becomes a dialogue, monologue. People cannot interact, and your format might be different, my format might be different. That is the whole purpose that Swagger is trying to solve. No, we talk about this Swagger a lot, REST API a lot, but are we just developing REST APIs nowadays in web? We are developing with some other modern cutting edge, bleeding edge spec also, right? REST versus something else is there. What is that something else? Can anybody tell me?
The rest SOAP or
SOAP is there.
GraphQL.
Not many people use it, but there is something latest trend is there where client can decide everything. You can expect this also.
gRPC?
gRPC is for communications. Service to service.
Someone just said GraphQL, so that's GraphQL.
Exactly. Okay, now consider I am using GraphQL. How will Swagger help me in GraphQL? In GraphQL, you don't even need Swagger. In fact, GraphQL, with the nature of how GraphQL works, there are a lot of other advantages also, but let us just stick with only one. GraphQL is type safe. Let us just look at that aspect. In GraphQL, I'm saying GraphQL doesn't expect you to write documentation. Is my statement correct?
Yeah, because the GraphQL spec itself looks like documentation.
Yes. So in GraphQL, that's what I'm saying. So consider this is all documentations, but the documentations, the way that we write documentations are changed. So now in GraphQL case, GraphQL will not even let you to get into the server if you don't adhere to the type safety. So now in case of GraphQL, you don't need something like Swagger because it's already written in your GraphQL schema. For example, this is the one failed with schema. Please check your connections. Okay. Okay, the GraphQL API is down now, it seems. That's why I'm not able to connect. But in GraphQL, it will not even let you type. GraphQL itself is by nature, it's a medium of documenting your code. So in GraphQL, you don't need something like Swagger actually. Anybody following GraphQL in production? Anybody practicing GraphQL in production? Using Spring Boot DevTools, it may break your app. Yeah. Sanjay got an important point. It can DevTools has to be used properly. That's one correct thing. So now GraphQL, we'll cover it in detail later. There's a lot of debate about it's a controversial topic. People say, okay, GraphQL is good. How to migrate from REST to GraphQL. And similarly, there are projects written to migrate from GraphQL to REST APIs. We will see that in detail. You can expect some interview questions from here also. That's slightly different topic. From a documentation standpoint, GraphQL has a better advantage. That is all that we need to know from the documentation side.
Satish, have you implemented GraphQL in production?
No, I tried it, but I'm not using as
I mean, we tried, but honestly, I don't like GraphQL that much.
Yeah. Once you start using it, right, practically you will face certain issues. For example, caching, security, and all this.
Yeah.
You can't run it effectively. But GraphQL has a great advantage for rapid development. There are use cases very specific to GraphQL, like if you are building an e-commerce site, a content management system, and all those stuff. GraphQL is too good. But for a typical transactional applications,
I mean, if you're using some service like AppSync, then GraphQL makes sense. But if you have to write GraphQL engine in Spring Boot, then I don't think that's very feasible. In fact, it will be very time consuming as compared to just writing a REST API.
Yes. GraphQL has some advantages also, like versioning and all this stuff. That I'll cover it in detail. It should be like the problems are not with solutions. It's all about we choose sometimes the wrong solution for a wrong problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so that's about documentations. I hope I made something clear for you. Documentation is a bigger thing. Consider documentation seriously because tools are doing quite a bit of work for you. All that they beg the developer is, please code your application properly. Rest all that we will take care. Even we don't do that, then it's a mistake with developers. It's a mistake with the leadership team from the technical side. That's the thing that we need to get it. Yeah.